do? Maybe I don't got to tell my parents. I'll just do something else. I had a little bit of cash saved up in the bank from the party business that I was running. So I started looking at rental properties to buy. And I found this small condo on sale for $8,400. That was the price of the condo.
That's wow.
And that same condo a few years prior had sold for 150 grand. So the 2008 crash really decimated the real estate market in Michigan because Ford, GM, Chrysler were just hit so hard. And so I was like, okay, well, this is not a bad price. I can afford this. So I made an offer for $4,000 and it was in foreclosure. The bank countered with $7,000. And then I said, how about we settle at $6 grand? And we were trying to go back and forth. And then they said, well, we have another offer on the table. I didn't want to lose this deal because I'd already looked at a few. So I was like, okay, well, I'll make an offer for $8 grand. So it was a bidding war. The other person offered less than $8 grand. So I got the condo. So I bought the condo for $8,000, but a little bit of work into it. It was in pretty good shape. And I got it rented out for $600 a month. Now I'm 19 years old. And I had no idea what I was doing. But all of a sudden, once I got it a little bit figured out, I was like, wait, this condo is paying me every single month, and I don't have to go and host a party. I don't got to go to work. I was working at Auntie Anne's Pretzels a little bit before that. I was like, I don't got to flip pretzels. I don't got to host this party. I don't got to work at a wedding, and it's paying me. Something doesn't make sense. Like, how come I was never told about this? Like, I was doing good in school. Like, I thought I was like smart. I thought I knew what I was doing. Turns out that there's a whole world of financial education that we're never taught. So now the traditional system is go to school, study hard, get good grades, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder. And now I'm starting to realize, wait, there's a different system here that none of us are ever taught, where the goal isn't to just get a job and climb the corporate ladder. What wealthy people are doing is they're working to own the corporate ladder. And I was like, I didn't even know that you could do that. Because now if you can own investments, if you can own assets, you own things that are going to be paying you without you having to physically work. And this is what wealthy people are working for. Yet none of us are ever taught this. None of us are ever taught in school, how do you manage money? None of us are ever taught, how do you invest your money? None of us are ever taught, how do you build wealth? None of us are ever taught, how do you generate passive income? Yet wealthy people are teaching their kids this, and they're able to figure it out because they have that education. But for the majority of us, we're not taught this unless you're willing to go out of your way. Now, YouTube has made it a lot more accessible, thank God.
Yeah.
But before YouTube, you had to go out of your way to read books and take classes. And it's tough. It's much harder to read a 300-page book than it is to watch a 10-minute YouTube video.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was a big turning factor for me because that's when I started to realize that there's something different that you can do. So the second habit that we talk about, breaking away from that traditional system, asking the question why. And then the third thing is understanding what money is. And this is a very tough concept to understand. And I guess the best example that I can give of this is kind of going back to the traditional Indian culture, because in India, it's a very common thing that when somebody has extra cash, extra rupees, they want to convert these rupees to gold. It's why in India, a lot of gold is transacted during weddings because they want to give money. And the way that they do that is through gold, because inherently people understand that the rupee loses value. And I don't think that people understand the why or the ins and outs. It's just normal. That's just the culture. So people take the cash and they buy gold. And the reason why now we need to understand this here in our culture is because when we think of money, there's two different aspects to it. There's a currency, which means something that we use to buy and sell things in exchange. And then there is the store of value. And many of us assume that our money is supposed to be a store of value. It's supposed to keep its worth. But now, because of the 2020 pandemic and the 2021 inflation and the 2022 inflation, we're seeing that, oh my God, my savings don't buy me as much. My earnings are not stretching as far. And so we're starting to really realize here that maybe my dollars don't hold the same value. And so now it's understanding what is money. Well, there's two aspects. You have the currency aspect to buy and sell things, and then there's the store of value. What wealthy people understand is that money doesn't act as a very good store of value in today's day and age. So you want to take your money and convert it to something that is a store of value, or maybe something that's actually going to produce you income. This is like something that's so important for everyone to understand. And what's interesting is my first video to go viral was back in 2016. And in that video on my Minority Mindset channel, The reason why I think it went viral was because I talked about this whole idea of when you save all your cash in the bank, you're becoming poorer each and every day, because back then inflation was between 2 and 3%, while your bank was paying you 0.5%. So I said was, look, you're losing 2 to 3% of your cash's value every single day. So you need to do something with this money, because your money is losing value. In 10 years, it's going to be worth less than it is today. Well, I didn't expect this 2020 pandemic to happen. I didn't expect all this craziness to happen. But now here we are with inflation significantly higher than 2 to 3%. And now people are really starting to understand that, whoa, what is my money? And you have to be able to understand this, because this is the driving reason for why wealthy people don't want to save all their extra cash. You want to put your cash to work, which brings us now to the second side, right? What do wealthy people do? Well, the first thing, you have to understand how money plays a part in your life, like we discussed, right? How does money impact your life? That way you don't go out and just start chasing money. Because one of the things that I realized was I started making way more money when I stopped chasing money. Because when you're chasing money, you're chasing something that's illusory. It's just fake. It's just, it doesn't even feel good. And you're not going to be able to put your full self into it. But then the second thing, on the more financial side, is what do you do with that money? And one of the things that I realized is what wealthy people want is this thing called equity. And this is where you have a lot of benefits in America, because you can't do this in a lot of countries. So if you think about the traditional American dream, which is changing now, but the traditional American dream was you can work hard, buy a home, have a car. But the whole idea of buying a home, the reason why this was the American dream was because if you can buy a home, you can work over the years to pay it off. And now you have equity in your home. And now you have this sort of generational wealth that you can pass down. You have an asset. Well, the traditional American dream is now an American nightmare, with the high cost of home ownership, with wages not keeping up with the cost of living. However, that doesn't mean that the American dream is dead. It's just changed. So what is this new idea of the American dream? Well, if you go back to the root core of equity, this is the real dream of wealth, and something that you can build for yourself and for your family and for generations is if you have equity. Now, how do I explain this? Well, if you think about any company, especially in a bigger company, it's easy to understand. There's two types of people that are involved. You have the workers and you have the owners. The workers are working for a salary. You go to work every single day, you get a paycheck, you're getting a salary. The owners of the company are not getting paid a salary. They're getting paid in profits. They want the company to make bigger profits so that they can make more money. Now, there is some overlap between the workers and the owners. If you are a founder, you're probably an owner as well. The CEO might have some ownership, and some newer companies, you'll give equity to the workers as well. But when you have equity, you're getting the profits of a company. Everybody in America in this system needs to be a business owner if you want to become successful. Now, the one thing that I want to caveat that with is the majority of people should not try to start a business, and the majority of people should not try to operate a business. Now, you might say, Jaspreet, you just said everybody should be a business owner. How does that make any sense? Well, you can own a business without working for the business. And now this is the question of what are you doing with your salary? What are you doing with your income? You can either build the equity by starting a company yourself or by building a home, or you can buy the equity. Now, how do you do that? Well, you have to understand the wealth formula. The wealth formula that I've come up with is you take your income minus your expenses, and that equals your investments plus your savings. So if you take your income, the amount of money that you make, and now you subtract all the things that you buy, your rent, your mortgage, your car payment, your groceries, your gas, you take away all of your expenses. And if you have a margin, well, now you have extra cash. Now you can save all or some of this money, but if you don't save some of it, then that money can be put to work in your investments. These investments, like I've been hinting at, is what makes wealthy people wealthy, and it's what keep wealthy people wealthy. These investments can be in the stock market, because anytime you buy a share of any company, if you go out and buy a share of, say, Amazon, you become one of the owners of the Amazon Corporation. You get to share in the profits. If the Amazon valuation goes up, your stock price goes up. The second way would be through real estate, not through your home, But through a real estate investment, buying a rental property that you're buying for the sole purpose of making money, this is something that can pay you every week or every year, every month. Then it can be through your own business. Or if you don't want to build your own business, you can invest in startups. It's much more accessible now. You can own physical gold. You can invest in cryptocurrency if that's something that you believe in. So there's a lot of different ways to build this equity, but this is where now you need to be putting your money to work to actually buy and own and build this equity.
Yeah, those are, I mean, first of all, I just want to say, I love how structured your thinking is. And it's so great to break things down. And so anyone who's been listening or watching so far, make sure you go back and ask yourself which of those habits you're struggling with. Are you someone who's in the 2 S's, choosing to either spend or save? Are you someone who's being slowed down by systemic thinking and like being controlled about where that goes? Like really take a moment to reflect in this episode while you're listening, which part you want to work on, because I know right now some of you may be tempted to just turn this off and go, I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to hear about this. I'm scared about my money already. I don't want to talk about it. But I'm hoping that this is creating space for you to really sit down, introspect, and reflect. Going into that, I think one of the biggest issues that people have when they hear this, and I know that I had a long time ago when I first heard this, was I don't have enough to do anything with. And so I remember when I started hearing about crypto specifically, like very early on, like I probably heard about it like maybe like 13 years ago, probably the first time. Yeah, I was very early heard about cryptocurrencies about 12, 13 years ago. And I had just come out of the monastery, so I didn't have any money. Like I didn't have anything to invest. And probably in about a year, I probably would have had like 1,000 to invest. In my head, I go, that's not anything. What's that going to do? Yeah. Right. And I think a lot of people have that mindset where they're like, I only have $500. I only have $1,000. Like, what can I do with that? I might as well spend it on whatever it is or I'm going to save it because I need it for a rainy day. What does someone do when they have that mindset, when they're like, I don't have enough? How do you